Well, hello and welcome to the PMQ live update for today, Thursday, February 11th. We are just kind of kicking on through 2021 right now. Hopefully it's going to be better than last year, but we are always looking to bring you some of the best information in the industry, as well as have a lot of fun here at PMQ Live Updates, which brings me to my next guest, Mr. Chris Monica, who is the commissioner of PWR, the Party World Rasslin League in Austin, Texas. Chris, say hello to the world.
Hey, Brian, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, well, what we're going to be talking about today is, the obviously the fun of independent wrestling leagues, but also how, pizzeria operators and restaurants can kind of partner with some of these local groups to help increase sales for themselves, as well as awareness for these local groups and leagues and things like that. So, Chris, why don't you give yourself a brief bio here, about a minute and a half, and then we'll get into the meat of this discussion.
Yeah, so I moved to Austin in about 2010 in order to do music here. And through that time, I kind of joined a local artistic community. And I also started working at a pizza restaurant. And through some of my friends in the local music community here, we started having these parties with different themes. One of the parties we had for one of my friend Jared's birthday was wrestling themed. And we did it twice, and the second time we kind of thought it was going to be the end of it, but afterwards people came up to us and said, hey, when is the next one? And so we said, okay, I guess we'll do another one. And each time we did a show, the attendance would double in these backyard outdoor parties where we'd have beer and pizza and so on. And so from that, Party World Rasslin was born. And then one thing led to another. Pretty soon we have a sponsorship from a brewery, and we moved our whole operation there, and we've been having shows ever since then, and attendance has continued to grow. It's been really awesome. The pandemic obviously shut off the live shows, but over the last decade, I've been doing a combination of making pizzas and running shows, as well as some, work on computers and whatnot to make my day job money.
Well, and it's great because, as you mentioned, there's that synergy between, the league and, the popularity of the for your operations, as far as like getting all that stuff working together, creating more revenue for the operation and notoriety for said independent group. And you have a lot of wrestlers and talent in this league, which is great. I'm going to put it up here real quick. Anybody who wants to go there, you can check out the Facebook Party World Rasslin with an R, guys. You can see their lineup and some bios, but there's one in particular, and we're going to probably talk to him today, hopefully, if we can, Mr. Luigi Primo. I think he's one of your superstars, the pizzacentric superstar that has had a meteoric rise to fame in the Party World Rasslin League.
That's right. So, Luigi Primo is somebody I met on the pizza scene back early and mid 2010s. I met this guy when I was just among the different cooks and drivers of the pizza scene.
Well, and that's great. And I assume just because of some of the violence that happens in the back of any pizza kitchen, a lot of us have worked there. We understand how violent it can be. You have to be able to defend yourself. So we're going to be talking with him a little bit later.
That's right. I've seen, in situations, I've seen, somebody come into the restaurant, a pizza restaurant, and try and make trouble, and Luigi jump over the counter and waist lock them and push them out of the restaurant, meanwhile being buffeted by their fists. In hindsight, maybe not the best choice of things to do, but when you're in the pizza restaurant and you're defending your turf, the adrenaline kicks in, and you do what you have to do to protect the pie.
No, absolutely. And I mean, you always want to have, the only way you can stop a bad guy with a pizza is with a good guy with a pizza. So there we go. But I did want to let everybody know that you can ask your questions, and you can put your comments live on the Facebook. You can ask Chris, and then when Luigi comes on later, you can ask him some questions about his wrestling style. But I also wanted to let you know that we do have a little bit of a game going on here. So if you type in Primo, I would suggest doing it lowercase. Otherwise, it's going to tag Luigi Primo. But type in lowercase Primo. You will get a Facebook Messenger message, and you can actually have a virtual match with Luigi Primo for a chance to win a Throdo, which is his signature ring weapon, as well as a signed autographed headshot of the wrestling superstar himself. So if you go into the PMQ Facebook events, if you're not watching us through there, go into the comments and just type in lowercase Primo, and it'll pop up in your messenger. And from there, you should be you'll be put into the drawing for that Throwdo. So without any further ado, I really wanted to get into the questions here with you, Chris, as a commissioner. How did you kind of talked about how the PWR came about. You were talking about like backyard parties. Is that how it came into existence, or was there any other kind of push from that, or was that just a catalyst to get it moving?
Me and my friend Jared, Jared always had an idea for each of their birthdays. He wanted each one to get progressively more dangerous until eventually, say for his 50th or 60th, 70th birthday, the party would literally kill him. So, So in an attempt to escalate the danger level, they thought, well, why don't we just wrestle? So we made up these characters and we shot these videos of us talking smack. And then we had a show in a friend's backyard, like I was saying, and we thought it was dumb and we thought that was going to be the end of it. But people really started liking it more than any of the music stuff we were doing. So we were just like, let's just shift focus and do the dumbest possible wrestling we can. And back in those days, luckily we didn't get hurt too bad. People got dropped on their heads and knocked out, but nobody was seriously hurt, thankfully. And we had a lot of fun. And weirdly, we did it kind of not really caring about our health, but through this we kind of have developed a community where like now we are actually interested in being safe and healthy because we have this wonderful thing and all these friends we've made through this. So it's been a really nice way to strengthen our friendships, as well as like partnerships with some of the people who have like Fourth Cap Brewing Co-op, our main sponsor, where we have our ring set up and stuff.
It looks like fun. And I mean, this is I must say that I have been to some of these in the past as well. And the just the spontaneity of it all, just the energy that you get from it.
Yeah,
it's so much fun. And also, I mean, the physicality that's the things that these guys are doing is insane. So I must comment to that.
For sure. It's all a big like ritualistic thing where like the audience is a big part of it, where they're kind of in on it by like chanting or choosing who to cheer for and who to boo, just complete expression, throwing light objects at the bad guys or the good guys if they want to be like that. But it's all a big. We talk about it like it's kind of like a fun, weird church service or wedding with violence.
Well, I mean, so after that, I mean, what are the PWR shows? What do they look like? I mean, what's the energy feel? Because I mean, this is very, I don't want to say rudimentary, but what we have here, it's just kind of the beginning of something that's going to catch fire. So, I mean, what are the next? What's kind of the next step? What is the feeling you get if you go to a live PWR show?
Yeah, so in this video, you might see like a little streamer in the background. And this was our idea. We thought, hey, let's decorate a little bit. Let's add some atmosphere to it. But through doing this, we actually made friends with some really talented installation artists. So over the years, we went from having like a streamer and a fake skull on it to eventually each show would have a theme. Like we've had shows inside the stomach of a giant beast. And for those, all the decorations are like organs and, different veins running all through the walls. And
oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And bones everywhere. And these are like, this is like 30-foot high warehouse walls. So it's very immersive to the people who come in. So in addition to the wrestling, there's this very cool art that we make with, paper mache and a lot of just tarps and painting. So it really just comes down to the skill of the art team. So we've had one in an abandoned shopping mall. We've decorated the warehouse to look like an abandoned shopping mall. We've had a couple of different ones in like the dystopian apocalyptic future in caves of ice, sunken pirate ships, and all of these themes in this scenery has to do with like the plot of whatever's happening in the story. Like, for instance, maybe we've all been swallowed by this giant snake and we need to cure a disease they have through wrestling. As you can see, PWR is a very serious league, and we deal with serious problems such as, you know, rescuing ancient ships from the depths of the ocean, or going into space and recapturing a belt that's been stolen by an alien queen, stuff like that.
No, absolutely. Some of today's most common problems that we need to solve if we're going to move forward and have any kind of human race left. If we don't solve this, we're done. So, so post-pandemic, or not post-pandemic, during the pandemic era, what are some of the PWR shows like? Because as you were saying, you know, you kind of had to cut down on a lot of the live shows. I mean, what are you guys doing to sustain yourself or keep yourselves out there and in the public eye?
Yeah, so for the regular shows, we have this, the shows are free. Like pre-pandemic shows were free. We would just ask people to donate, and we'd have shirts for sale. And, you know, we'd get between 1,500 and 2,000 people coming to the show. And the donations and stuff would help keep us afloat. And because our idea was always to pack it out, make it as big as possible of a party. No one turned away. During the pandemic, we obviously can't do that. We can't create the tight, sweaty, fun space that we normally do. So we've been trying to every month like have these audience-free pre-taped shows where we have some of the same jokes and some of the same wrestling action, some of the same artwork, though not as crazy as we usually go for during non-pandemic stuff. But we've been calling those PWR Gaiden, which is a take on a video game.
Ninja Gaiden?
Yeah, which means just quest or like side story. So it's our little side stories where you know, we had PWR Gaiden presents Olive Gaiden, which was based on Olive Garden for some reason, and our next one that's coming out tomorrow is all about hamburgers, but pizza is in there as well, so don't worry about that.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I like how, I mean, just like the pizza operators, you guys have had to kind of pivot and to, you know, keep yourselves out there going and relevant and in front of, you know, just visible, making sure, you know, a lot of people can get forgotten about in the pandemic, unfortunately. So, these are good tips for anybody else that they can maybe apply in some way to their business or things like that. Yeah.
And one thing I'll say is when we started doing the video only shows, we did it just kind of for our own sake in order to keep the wheels greased and to keep motivated. And I didn't think anyone would watch it. But like what we found was like the people who watched it was almost as many as who watch our regular shows. And people were really enjoying it, which I didn't think people would not enjoy it, but I was surprised that like such a different thing would meet with such a good response. So yeah, I would say just try whatever you can and let the people tell you whether or not they like what you're doing. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there.
Well, yeah, I mean, you got to try it first and, you know, see it's like throwing spaghetti and see what sticks to the wall, right?
That's it, so to speak.
So how do you guys as wrestlers train? I guess, has that changed any time during the pandemic era? I mean, you guys have just a warehouse, you get together. Yeah. You get these guys together a couple of times a week or something.
So our initial way to train was we used to meet in 2013, 2014. We used to meet in the backyard. We used to do flips onto mattresses that we found. And those days were very fun, but we learned pretty soon that we were doing literally everything wrong and things that were going to lead to permanent injuries. So luckily, we met some pro wrestlers who came in and were like, we don't want to change you guys. We still want you guys to be wacky. We just want to show you how to protect yourselves. And so that's and that's how we got our trainer, Jay Sirius, also known as Jojo Bravo. And since about 2016, they've been training all the PWR wrestlers. And as you say, during non-pandemic, we usually have 2 group practices during the week where everyone goes to the warehouse space and we train in the ring there. But during the pandemic, we've been having closed signups where 2 to 3 people, if they want, can come practice in the ring. And that's how we've been keeping ourselves fresh during the pandemic time and just making sure to clean out the ring after each session. But that's another cool thing about having the ring at Fourth Tap is like, while we're rolling around on a Tuesday, somebody who's there at the brewery just wanders in with a beer and is like, whoa, there's a wrestling ring in here. So we really think that's helped them grow, is the fact that they're like, hey, I went to this brewery and it had a wrestling ring in it. And they're like, that's insane. And so it's been a good way to like kind of make this brewery, which was already very special, into something like kind of even more unique.
Well, and I wanted to get to that conversation here in a second, but I did want to also ask you, what is some of the what roles do like set building and art kind of? You guys are telling a story here. Now it's a very physical story, and you guys are very serious about everything. What role does the like you were talking about banners and set building? What role does that play in the theatrics of it?
Yeah, so like we try every one of our shows, we try and have a very specific like story and theme. There's always the long running things of like, this wrestler doesn't like this wrestler, obviously Bench Horse might not like Big Daddy Bolero, the cowboy, because Big Daddy Bolero might want to ride Bench Horse, and Bench Horse is against that. These are some of the maybe the long-term stories that are going, but like from show to show, we also have a specific like thing that's happening at that show. Like maybe we're trapped in the dark future and we need to find a time machine to go back, or maybe there he is. That's our champion, the hated Big Daddy Bolero from Dallas.
Oh, he kind of looks like it. I like that belt. That's huge. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Rattlesnakes and everything. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So anyway, he was, you were talking about, Bench Horse, who's he's a big guy.
Oh yeah. Bench Horse is probably legitimately around 320. I mean, it makes sense. He's a horse. But unlike a lot of horses, this horse can bench press. So, most horses, they kind of just eat hay and maybe race. But this horse is definitely on steroids.
He's got opposable thumbs too.
Which makes him much more dangerous than regular horses, which are already pretty dangerous, frankly.
Oh, absolutely. I don't want to be on the bad end of a horse, I think is a saying. Maybe not, but
no, that's a saying. They say that here. Don't want to be on the bad end of a horse.
So, right. So, we're going to be talking here real quick about, hopefully, I know he's kind of prepping for some training, probably eating a bunch of raw eggs or drinking, like Rocky, or maybe just some raw pasta. Who knows?
There you go.
But how did Luigi Primo come to be? I mean, where was he discovered? What's his origin story, I guess is the better question.
Yeah. So I discovered him working on the pizza scene in Austin. And the character of Luigi, from what I observed, is based on being in the pizza kitchen, kind of a high-pressure situation, and just being mad at everybody at all times. Like making the best pizza you have, but being absolutely filled with hatred and violence for no reason. Like when you're on the line in a pizza restaurant during a rush, and there's like, you have 5 minutes or whatever to catch your breath, and that ticket prints out, you become furious as a pizza cook. Even though that's going to happen, that you're going to get an order because you're a pizza cook and that's your job. But still, I observed it as a driver, and then once I became a cook, I saw that I was not immune from this. I was just constantly mad at having to do the thing that I knew was my job.
And that's what you saw, Luigi. You saw yourself in Luigi there.
That's right.
And kind of saw, you're like, hey, this guy gets me, so I'm going to put him in my league.
Yeah, and because he came from Italy, obviously, and had trained there with some of the great Italian wrestling masters, and then come to Austin and learned about kind of the city here and tried to bring his Italian pizza making and wrestling skills. And I recruited him into PWR, and he came in as sort of a bad guy. Our fans didn't really like him because he actually had a feud with a waiter, someone from the front of the house, who was making demands at the back of the house. And he kind of put the waiter in his place. But it turns out the audience was much more empathetic to the back of the house than they were the front of the house.
I can get that. Yeah.
Which was a surprise because I mean, I thought that, you know, a bunch of like hipsters in a backyard, I figured they'd be front of the house, but it turns out a lot of them were back of the house. So that's when Luigi kind of turned into a fan favorite.
All right. So I did want to ask you real quick, and before, you know, and I don't know if you got a buzzer or something to go see if Luigi's going to be ready here shortly, but I wanted to ask you, what are some of the benefits, again, of operators working with PWR or local groups like PWR that can, with live appearances or pizza parties and stuff like that? And I did want to play something that you had sent me here, if I can get this and not mess it up. But it kind of showcases some of the benefits of kind of partnering, but here, we're going to do it right now. Here we go. Luigi!
Yeah, so this is when Luigi became the RCW International Champion, they had a pizza party for him in San Antonio. And this was great because it happened in this action figure store here. So it brought people into the action figure store and, you know, increased their business and also put a spotlight on the wrestling league itself. And it was also a lot of fun for everybody. Additionally,
there's kind of that synergy where, you know, again, you know, you partner with a local business to have a fun kind of pizza party that maybe ends in tickets to a wrestling match. And I gotta say, man, that little spike gremlin, that is the coolest thing. I want that for Christmas. If anybody's watching right there, you can see it. He's right to the right there.
There he is. Yeah, I love it.
But I mean, so this is something where PWR kind of teamed up with this action figure store to have a pizza party with an appearance by Luigi.
This was a different league called RCW in San Antonio that did this, but But PWR has worked with. There was a pizza truck for a while at Fourth Tap, and during one of the PWR show nights, they had a Luigi special where they just called one of their pepperoni pizzas a Luigi special, and they sold like $1,200 or $1,500 worth of them. You know, I mean, they were probably going to already sell pizza, but they sold more of those than they did the other types. So just having this wrestling event and having this character, sort of having that team up, like, help their business that night. And also, you know, the nights that PWR does shows at Fourth Tap, the brewery, their sales are like, you know, 500 to 1,000% beyond what a normal weekend is. So just having an event there and having the notoriety of it can really help, in addition to being a fun time.
When I think you mentioned that pizza truck, didn't they give like $1 for every sale of that Luigi special?
Right, yeah.
PWR.
Yeah, and exactly. And so we made they gave us like a check for like $120, and I was like, oh dang, I guess they sold some Luigi pizzas.
120 pizzas. 120 pizzas, man. That's huge.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you look at it at that math, you know, if they're selling 120 pizzas at whatever they're selling it for, yeah, that definitely is a big draw in, whether it be a mobile unit or something you can have just in the parking lot on site or pizza party inside, something like that. But just there's something to be said for kind of synergy between local groups that are very entertaining. I want to say like that. They put on a show. I mean, what do you think mostly draws people to want to work with you guys at the PWR?
I think it's because we've tried to keep it as a party, and we've tried to keep the vibe as a party. Because like in Austin, especially, at least before the pandemic, there was a lot of shows, like music shows. And when you get invited to a music show, since there's so many, it can be kind of a hassle. Like you have to come and you have to like see this person's artistic vision and kind of get into their space. Whereas with PWR, we just say, just come to the party, drink beer, eat pizza, yell at these people who are fighting. There's no pretensions to art going on, even though it is very artistic. We don't claim it is because we don't need it to be. It's just a fun time where everyone can scream and go nuts, and that's all it is. And so I think because it's just like available on people's own terms instead of being this like high art kind of thing, I think it's I think that makes it fun. We just want people to cram into a space and to enjoy themselves when there's not a pandemic. When there is a pandemic,
yeah. Well, it's more all-encompassing versus you have to be very focused on this art or this type of music or something like that. This can be, it's just a party atmosphere, and hey, there's a bunch of guys throwing each other around in the ring in the back if you want to look.
No and then and then once the pressure's off, it's very easy to get involved in the story because you're just having fun. So like, always just make it a party and make it fun. And I think that's what people enjoy, in addition to, having beer and pizza on hand.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what, why don't you go press that red button and let's see if we can get Luigi up here, because I got some questions for him, because I don't know about his pedigree. I've come from pizza too, so I got some questions. So I'm going to let you go, brother. Why don't you go ahead and grab him, and then we'll see what he has to say. But, I just wanted to say that, I come from my old roommate. We had an old independent professional wrestling ring, and I actually got to do props for that. And I understand, I've seen guys jump from second-story balconies through another guy, through a cardboard table. I've seen guys get hit with folding chairs. I wouldn't want to do this. I'm perfectly fine with laying out all the props. I have no problem with that at all. But some of the physicality and the artistry that these guys do, I could never do. So, it's just one of those things where, much respect goes out to these guys. And I really, I look forward to seeing a PWR wrestling ring here, but I think we got him. There he is. The pizza master himself, Mr. Luigi Primo. Okay.
I'm Luigi Primo. That's all right. I make a best of pizza every day.
Okay, well, we haven't seen that yet. You're going to have to prove that. But all right, Luigi, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here, my brother. How long have you been wrestling?
Let's see. I've been wrestling, I would say, about 15 to 20 years. I started in a high school and a college from the great masters of Italy, and then I moved to Austin, Texas, and I started training it here for about 7 or 8 years. And I learned a lot of what I know about American style of wrestling.
But okay, so 15 to 20 years, man, that's a big brag. But was this just like backyard, like beating people up, or was it like professional?
I would say most of my training with the wrestling comes from when I'm in a restaurant, and say somebody comes in and tries to cause trouble, I have to jump over the counter and maybe get them in a waistlock and suplex them onto the table, get them in a camel clutch, and then have them submit and kick them out of the restaurant. That's pretty much how I learned the basics of wrestling, by attacking people in my pizza restaurant.
All right, so randomly attacking pizza patrons. I get that.
Right,
you're the enforcer. Okay, so who are some of your enemies and allies within the wrestling world? And I got a whole list of guys here. I'm going to probably just throw some names at you, and I want to get your personal opinion on them. But, why don't you give me the top one right now, that when I say your personal enemy? Go.
I would say my enemy would be, it's so hard. There's so many people out of there. I would say the Goid, who is a demon from my family. He looks like a man in a red suit with rabbit ears. And we have a saying in the Primo family: you have to stay away from the Goid, because he comes and he tries to steal a pizza, and he tries to steal souls.
All right, so you don't like the Goid.
The Goid, that's
okay.
Right.
All right, so give me one of your allies, somebody that you could depend on to have in your corner in the ring.
So a family member and my tag team partner, Pasta Man, is my son. You see, I make a good pizza. I've already explained this. But in my youth, I once tried to make a spaghetti. And I threw the spaghetti away because I thought it was bad and garbage. And then later I found out it had come to a life. And it began to pursue me and try to prove to me that I was his father. At first I rejected him, but then we had a match to determine whether or not I was his father or not. And in that match, he had a chair above his head, and he was going to swing it down and break my legs. But he has showed me a compassion. And that's how I learned you can't love people and trust people in this world. So ever since then, we've operated as a father and a son. He works at my restaurant. We tag it together. he kind of has a weird mind. He's a college age, but still has a trouble controlling his actions, and he'll slap at me, or maybe he'll throw something. So I still have to keep him in a line. But he's a good boy, made of a spaghetti.
I get it. Yeah, was Maury Povich the referee for that ring or for that match? I want to ask where you guys discovered you were family.
It had a vibe to it, but I would have. But it didn't take a lot of adjudicating, because the adjudication wasn't done with our fists.
All right, man. So why don't you tell me one more of your enemies that you kind of see as somebody that, well, you hate?
Let's see. I don't want to hate a lot of people. It's a stronger word. But I would say the person that I dislike the most is a Big Daddy of Bolero, who's the PWR party. Yeah. Who's the PWR party weighted champion. And I'll tell you why. Because he's from a Dallas. Now, okay, say what you will about a Dallas, but sometimes in Austin what happens is somebody from a Dallas, they start a pizza franchise here, and they may be trying to call it something like Austin's a Pizza to fool you that is from Austin. But really what it is somebody coming in, they see the hard work I've put into my restaurant to build a Maya audience and a Maya customership, and then they start a restaurant across the street thinking they can just have it just because they have money, just because they choose. And he's done that. He's started his own pizza restaurants in Austin expressly to put me out of a business. But he's going to see that I've been fighting from underneath when I've been making a pizza, and I've been wrestling since I was a little boy. So he's going to find out that I can fight when it comes to making a pizza, and I can literally fight him in the ring with a wrestling.
Okay, well, I tell you what, man. I think that's a great. I want to see that match, Austin versus Dallas. What do you think Austin Pizza is, Luigi? Because you don't sound like you're from Austin to me. I'm just saying, you don't sound like you were from Austin to me.
No, that's all right. I'm actually from Italy. My great grandparents are from Naples and Genoa. I have a family. There's a lot of members of it. I don't even know them all. Some of them are living in New Jersey. Some of them are living in California. Some of them still might live in Italy. I'm not sure. But we have a good time when we get together, of being loud, of playing a pinochle, and of course having a good Italian foods, pizza, spaghetti, etc. And I usually make the pizza. I'm a Luigi Primo. What was the question again?
I think that was it. Honestly, what do you think is more important in your art, being a wrestler or being a pizzaiolo?
Oh, that is a very good question, you say, Brian. Many people know that I make a good pizza, and still others know that I do a good wrestling. But I think where I really excel is combining a pizza and a wrestling in the ring. For instance, my opponents, I parallel it to when I'm making a pizza. So the first thing I do is I grab them on the trapezius and I work them like I'm squeezing a good dough. And this hurts the muscles in their neck so that they can't protect themselves. And then I slam them to the mat. And that's like throwing the dough. And then I jump on them bodily several times. And that's much like how you top a pizza. And then I put them in the oven, which I call when I pin them. So in that way, I feel like I combine a pizza making and a wrestling into one sacrosanct art. Except for when I cut people with a pizza cutter. That usually gets me disqualified, but you can't compromise when it comes to making a good pizza. So to answer your question, I combine the two disciplines to promote the idea of a pizza wrestling of superiority.
Hey, you sound like you know what you're talking about, or at least that you believe that you know what you're talking about. I think that's what it is. As long as you have conviction and you believe that you're right, that works. All right. So what has been your pizza experience in pizza making in Austin? I mean, as we were saying, Austin is not, it's not Italy. No. It's deep South, more barbecue. I mean, how many people have you had to beat up?
That's all right. And sometimes the people come into my restaurant and they say, "Oh, Luigi, can you make me a pizza with a barbecue sauce?" And I say, "That's a pretty good joke. That's a funny joke." And they say, "No, we're serious." And that's when I have to take the pizza peel and I hit them across the head with it, jump over the counter, suplex them onto the table, and then pin them. A ref usually comes out of nowhere and it counts the pin, and I am the winner. But Austin actually has some really excellent pizza representing a good regional styles, such as a home slice of pizza. They have a very good a kind of a New Yorker style. And of course, a Via 313, which is the delicious a Detroit style, which at first I was skeptical about because I thought it would have, a lug nuts from a cars on it or a battery acid or other things that people discard after they are making a cars. But actually, it's just the sort of a dish cooked pizza that's so oily and it's so good that when I eat it, I feel like I'm on a series of drugs.
Oh. Well, I was going to ask you what you thought about some Austin pizza, but I think you've named a couple of really great ones there. Via 313 is on my list for sure. Let's move on to the next question. What are some of your signature moves? And I don't know if I have them queued up here, but why don't you? I think you've kind of described them, like the chop, the shoulder chop. Do you have anything else that's like signature finishers?
Yeah, that's all right. I have a move called the hand toss, where I put my opponent up on my shoulders, or I put them over a single shoulder, and then I kind of spin them around, and then I toss them. And they hit the mat, and their equilibrium is totally destroyed, and then that usually finishes them. If that doesn't work, I'll do a move called the pizza cutter, which is sometimes I will literally use a pizza cutter to cut them, but this is actually a move where I take their neck, put it on my shoulder, and I sit down. And that will beat them if the hand tosser doesn't.
Well, and I was going to say, because that's kind of an outside implement. You can't use that. That's got to be an illegal move. You can't use a pizza cutter to cause damage.
So one thing about a wrestling that not a lot of people know, the only things that are illegal are the things that you are caught doing. So if you say to the ref, oh, look over there, something's happening, and then you pull a crushed red pepper out of your pocket and throw it in your opponent's eye, that's pretty much illegal because the ref didn't see it.
Okay, so is there a whole lot of chicanery going on where you're trying to get him looking somewhere else?
I'm the best wrestler, but I'm not the biggest wrestler. So I need to use every advantage that I can. So sometimes I go for the eyes, or sometimes I take my patented throw dough and I toss it in my opponent's face, and then I do a jumping heel kick and I knock them out with it. The refs are usually a little more lenient on the food products because it's technically soft, but I still have to be careful because the ref might have called me on it. But sometimes I just dazzle them with my technique so that they're confused. Or
what's that technique? One more time.
Oh, here we go. And then sometimes I'll even use it to blind the ref. I'll just throw it and he'll catch it, and I'll say, oh, you caught it, and he'll be confused, and then I can go for my opponent's eyes or his groin, etc.
Oh, his groin. I like that. Okay. And I did want to show this just because I've been showing pretty much a lot of stuff of you getting your butt kicked, but I tell you what, yes.
Oh, there's a good move.
That guy's 3 times your size, so.
And this move right here, this is called the Pizza Nova. Here we go. Get ready for it. That's a 4-3-9, 4-4-4-4 Pizza Nova. And that usually wins my matches, but I think I waited a little too longer to cover him. Yeah, and so he kicks out at 2.
Yeah, but I'm seeing the crowds. I think they're on your side. I don't have the audio going, but they scream. There's a lot of times they're screaming pizza, but they're also throwing their plastic beer cups up there. So you ever get a plastic beer cup in like the trapezius up here or anything like that?
Yes, actually, I think in this match a little later when I was on the ground, somebody threw a cup out of my face. So I took their glasses off of their face and I threw them as hard as I could because you can't disrespect the Luigi Primo.
No, you absolutely can't. And as we, walk away from that visual of you getting thrown out of the ring, you cannot disrespect Luigi Primo. So on that point, I want to come up to the lightning round word association with a Mr. Professional Wrestler Luigi Primo. So I'm going to ask you. I'm going to put some terms up there, and I want to hear what your thoughts are. So first off, I want to show, and it's going to be ticking at the bottom here, but ranch dressing
for fools and cowards.
Oh, really? Okay. Why?
I would say it's the milk of fools, because a pizza is already a savory and oily enough. Why do you need to add a curdled milk to the process? You can just enjoy the pizza. You're putting a hat on a hat when you add a ranch dressing.
A hat on a hat. Okay, I like that.
You don't need it to a hat. You just need a hat, and that hat is called a pizza. But do not put a pizza on your head if you can avoid it.
Okay. Well, sometimes 2 hats are necessary. Like if it's really cold, I got no hair. I need 2 hats. So I'm taking offense.
Just one thick a hat. Just make the hat a thick. Okay. All right. That's your call.
All right. Moving on. Knives and forks.
For cowards and enemies of a pizza. Because a pizza isn't made for you to eat with your hand. It's like a banana. Would you eat a banana with a knife and a fork? That would be a bigger mistake.
You can eat a banana with a knife and a fork. Luigi, I started at the beginning. I really kind of liked you, but you're starting to kind of piss me off.
Okay, anyway. and just to be clear, the point of contention here is whether or not bananas should be eaten with knives and forks. That's what's turning you off of me right now?
No. It's that anything can be eaten with the knives and the forks. So even bananas. But okay, I'll tell you what. No. We'll move on. We'll be amicable.
Okay, let's move on.
Let's be professional. Let's be professional.
We're both the professionals.
Okay. Absolutely. All right. This one should be easy. There shouldn't be a whole lot of contention in here. Fold or flat? Do you fold your slice or just eat it flat?
The answer I would say is it depends. Because if you have a very thin crust of pizza and you fold it, you would snap it in half. And then you're basically eating a pizza sandwich, which is an abomination. But if you have a floppy, a New Yorker slice, yeah, that's fine. As long as you don't roll it in on itself and do something weird to it, you can't fold it. So that one depends.
Okay, you know what? I think that's a common ground we can meet on right there. That's a good answer. All right. So I saved the worst for last. I mean the best for last here. This gets everybody. And I'm just going to ask it. Pineapple.
It's the Widowmaker. Oh, there he is. The despised, the devil of fruit himself. But here's the one thing a lot of people don't know about a pineapple. When you put a pineapple on a pizza, you don't just put the whole fruit on it with the skin and the spines on it. If you do that, it's going to ruin the pizza and it's going to cut your mouth when you're trying to eat it. What you do is you cut the pineapple and put the yellow fruit inside on the pizza. So if you would do it that rather than the former, it's actually not too bad.
Where are you going that they're putting the whole pineapple on the pizza? I'm just saying, maybe your pizza credentials aren't as much as they should be because you're going to places where they just throw the whole fruit on top instead of taking out the juicy bits in the middle. Okay,
well, let me ask you this.
I'm just saying.
So let me say this. The pizzas at my restaurant, they don't have any nails or screws or live ammunition cooked into them. Can you say the same about yours, Brian?
No, but should I have to? If you find an occasional bullet or a galvanized screw in there, that's not my fault. Maybe you brought it into the restaurant with you. Put it on Yelp. I will adjudicate everything on Yelp and Thirster or whatever all the other apps are. That's I'm just saying.
This is called the quality of control. When a pizza comes out of the oven, the first thing you would do is to see if it has any pineapple rinds, or it has any coffee grounds, or it has any 3/4 screws on it there. And if it does, you diligently pick them off. That's the promise that I can make to each of my customers, that they're not going to hurt or tear their esophagus with some kind of a nail on their pizza. They're only going to get a good cheese and a sauce and a crust.
Trust me.
I don't even think you can make that a promise, Brian Hernandez.
Trust me, I am picking off a ton of crap when I pull my pizzas out of the oven. I am doing it.
So you are finding a bunch of it on there, is what you're saying? Because I'm not finding it very much.
I'm picking it off, and you know what? They're not getting that. I put it into my screw nail jar, and that's it. But I can't say the same for you because I don't know if you have a screw nail jar. Maybe some of that stuff gets through in the Luigi Primo's place. It doesn't get through here. Regardless if it gets cooked, it doesn't get out to the customer. I don't care how the pie looks when it gets to the customer. I just want to make sure that they're not. Oh, All right, you know what, man? Here's this. I am the pineapple grappler. They call me SpongeBob Kill Pants. I live in a pineapple under the sea, and I have a killer pizza game. What do you got?
How dare you a reference to that a Sponge Man for this and imply that I have a nails and screws on my pizza? You know, you think you're so big about a pizza, you're big a PMQ man making your pies, but let me ask you this. How do you think you'd do in the ring? How do you think you do in the ring against Luigi Primo when you have this dough coming out of you at full speed at your face? What do you think about that? You think, let's just see who has the best nails and screws on a pizza. Let's just see through a fighting. And the loser is the one who does have nails and screws on their pizza.
As soon as it's safely possible to get in the ring with you, because I don't know what kind of diseases you're having or screws that you got on your fists. As soon as it's safe to come up there, I'm going to come up there and I'm going to go. I swear to God, I am going to I'm going to make a meat sauce out of your face. I'm going to go rip your arms off and I'm going to turn them into breadsticks. I'm going to crush your head like a tomato.
Well, I'm going to take you and knead you like a dough and then toss you like a pizza and then jump on you from the top rope and knock the wind out of you very bad. And you're going to regret the day you tried to attack me by using a pizza metaphors on my limbs.
I tell you what, you better start practicing now and get beefed up because there's a lot of dough to knead here, my friend.
Yeah, that's right. I'm going to get beefed up. I'm going to call it the beef man. I put a beef on my pizza every day. Some people call it hamburgers, but I don't let them. I say a ground beef.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you to my guest, Luigi Primo. This has been PMQ Live Update for February 11th, 2021. Look forward to SpongeBob Kill Pants and Luigi Primo in the ring in sometime in the future. Thank you again. I got to go cool off. I got some ranch. I got a pineapple here. I'm going to make a martini.
That's disgusting.
Yeah, well, we'll see about that.
I'm a Luigi Primo.